staying with us on the news at 1. Let's take a look at your market news now. Most Asian shares rose firmly today as strong Wall Street earnings and a step forward on U.S. tax reform brightened the mood, though many hurdles remain to secure the passage of a tax cut deal. The dollar fell after the Wall Street Journal reported that Special Counsel Robert Mueller's team last month subpoenaed President Donald Trump's campaign for documents containing specified Russian keywords from more than a dozen officials. Japan's Nikkei reached a one-week high, helped by gains in most sectors, while chip-related stocks such as Sumco and Tokyo Electron outperformed. The Nikkei ended 0.2% higher. Hong Kong stocks followed Asian markets higher. The Hang Seng Index gained 0.6%, but Shanghai stocks posted their worst week in 3 months amid worries over the health of the world's second-largest economy. The Shanghai Composite Index lost 0.5%. Wall Street's main indexes rose sharply yesterday, boosted by earnings-related gains in Walmart and Cisco, while a tax bill expected to boost corporate earnings past its first and smallest hurdle. The Dow Jones Industrial Average rose by 0.8%. The S&P 500 gained 0.8% as well, and the Nasdaq Composite Index added 1.3%. Let's take a look at some indicators in other markets now. Warwick Lucas from Galileo Capital joins me now to look at some market developments. Thanks so much for your time on SABC News. JSE closed higher yesterday. How much does it have to do with global sentiments in the markets?
I think it's quite substantially part of that. We're moving generally now with a rising tide there. I think part of that relating to encouraging development relating to Trump's proposed tax plan, and I think also then we're looking at steady as we go as far as the ECB goes. So yeah, it's a generally benign environment.
So with the ECB, Mario Draghi just addressed people earlier on, I think about an hour or two ago. What was the main takeaways from that, and is it going to have any effects on the euro dollar? Are we seeing those now already?
All right, so in the past couple of days we've seen the euro a little bit stronger against the dollar. And as far as Draghi's comments go, it's a holding calmative type of action. He's basically talking about continuing bond buying, and more importantly, no rate hikes to come until bond buying is quite substantially out of the way. So we're looking at a real flat line there, and I think that's guidance that's given the European economy quite a bit of comfort.
Let's come back to South Africa. The rand strengthening from the 14.57 that we saw earlier on in the week. What is the reason for that? And then can we see it going below 14 rand to the dollar like we saw post-budget?
Okay, so we're still seeing commodities generally on a positive track. We're seeing the gold price a little bit firmer today. So that looks like a fairly positive news set, and I think some initial calming down in relation to events in Zimbabwe as well, and perhaps signs of a little bit of clarity starting to emerge locally. So all in all, a fairly positive news set for the rand. Yeah, it possibly could have a go at 14.
Let's take a look at some stocks now. Naspers has done very well this year, increasing about 77%, if I'm correct. There's been a suggestion that Naspers needs to now move out of South Africa and go list on a market such as Hong Kong. What's your view on this?
Okay, I think that's quite a fair comment. I mean, looking at the size of Naspers, I mean, it is so big, it's around about 20% of the JSE All-Share Index. So it's a very, very big stock for a single market. And in terms of the actual size of the company, well, the value on the market is probably in the order of about 1.2 trillion rand. So that's really, really big. And although the JSE is a deep and well-functioning market, in the context of a global in environment, I mean, it could do very well on another big exchange. Moreover, Tencent, of course, is listed on Hong Kong, so there's already a high level of understanding of Tencent and information there, and to position Naspers in the same market, I think would be of a significant benefit to the stock.
Okay, Mediclinic results out yesterday. I think their revenue is up 10%. Is this mostly good news for them? What were their results like?
Okay, so they look like they're showing some reasonable operating progress in places. The Middle Eastern business has needed some turning around. That appears to be happening. In terms of local business, it's been fairly tight. I think it's important to note, though, that the positioning of the Easter holidays this year relative to last year has led to a bit of a bump down in income, and it's an effect we've seen across the other hospital groups in the JSE and in the UK. I think the one disappointment there, the new acquisition Spire, showing some relatively weak results there, having to make some provisions for exceptional events. So that I think was a bit of a bump, and that's why the market didn't take that kindly to these results.
Okay, people who aren't having the best time, Sibanye Stillwater and Harmony, both down by over 3%. What part of this can be attributed to the battles that are going on around the mining charter and ownership of mines in South Africa at the moment? I
think as far as the mining charter goes, I mean, that's a relatively long playing record. So I think in terms of these short-term moves, you can assign relatively little impact on them unless there's a big news blast that's come out. I think both of them, though, recovering a little bit today. I think in the case of Harmony from a strike that resolved itself, and Sibanye from a revaluation of Stillwater. So both of them a positive news set today.
Okay, let's move to our neighbours. You did touch on them. Zimbabwe having a military intervention of some sort, people not calling it a coup. President Robert Mueller is still president. How much of an effect is that having on the economy and the stock market there?
Well, I think they're taking a too soon to tell attitude. However, I think we had a situation that there was utter stasis in Zimbabwe for quite some time now, and real on the ground problems. I mean, a lot of hungry bellies, people really just struggling simply to survive in a lot of quarters. And I think that notwithstanding the political liabilities of the, shall we say, preferred horseman, as far as the bookies would go, I think he is likely to be a more pragmatic candidate than Mr. Mugabe ever was.
Warwick Lucas from Galileo Capital, thanks so much for your time on SABC News. It's time for a short break. I'll have more business news after the break. Do stay with us.